Hello and welcome to the Deep Three podcast. This is your host, Matt, joined as always by Sam, Kevin, and our special guest, John.
Hello.
How's it going, guys?
Hello.
Going good.
I'm a little bit bitter at Kevin because he gets to be in a beautiful state of Michigan right now.
It's pretty dope. And now you can see my face entirely.
That's true. You can see his face entirely. I apologize for that greatly. We have some big news heading our way. I think this is probably some of the biggest news that we've had in the NBA in a very, very long time, ever since The Last Dance, I would say. But first, I'm going to try and make this, because last time I failed, and this time I'm probably going to fail.
Ooh.
You can't handle
it.
Garbage.
God damn it!
Garbage.
Hey, I call bank next time, all right?
No, you're right. My bad. That wouldn't have. Do you think NBA players actually do that? They'll be like, bank shot.
Maybe. If you ask Paul Pierce, he's just calling game, though.
All right, let's get into the news, boys. So, first up, we have some depressing stuff. Rest in peace, Jerry Sloan. We're really sad to hear him passing. Really unfortunate news right there. Sam, do you have anything to say about that?
As the basketball expert here, obviously, I actually met Jerry Sloan. And I met, not actually meet as in we had a lot of discussion or anything, but more as 8-year-old me, probably, maybe 9-year-old me. I was at a basketball camp and they had Jerry Sloan there. Not sure why, but I'm not going to narc about that. I actually met the guy. He said a few words. I can tell you that he's a really genuine, funny guy. He can make light of almost anything. And I think, as we'll mention later in The Last Dance, they lost the game by 30 in the playoffs. They scored 59 points, and it's that's your score. And he's still making very light of things. Once again, a very genuine guy. And it's a real shame that he's no longer with us.
All right. Yeah, definitely 100%. And on the other news, it is Kevin, it's your boy, T-Mac. It's his birthday.
My OG 3-point player in any 2K game.
As Kevin spills on himself.
I did spill. That's okay.
So, I want to save the biggest news for last, but why don't we go on to D Wade? He made an interesting notion that Miami, and we're talking about LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh, had the second best big three. John, how would you respond to that?
Look, I don't want to take anything away from those fellas. They had a great run, but I don't know if I would agree with if they were playing together 3 years earlier, then yeah, maybe. But they were a good team that won 2 rings, which is the same as what I would say is the second best big three, which is Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, and Steph Curry, which is I think a better big three if you look at the numbers. And so I think it's I don't think this is blasphemous by any means. I think that that Miami team was really, really good. They had that ridiculous win streak that our beloved Bulls ended for them, and then and then they got absolutely fucking clobbered by the Spurs, which is still to this day one of my favorite playoff series. But I don't really think that the second best big three of all time would have had that happen to them.
Damn. Sam, you had a very interesting reaction to when John said Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, and Steph Curry. Who would you say your second best big three would be?
Very tough one. Very tough one. Something very obvious, ladies and gentlemen. The San Antonio Spurs, greatest big three of all time. Most wins by a big three in finals history. All right, 4 championships. All right, what did Jordan get with Rodman and Scottie? 3. Don't forget that. It's 3. All right, you have 4 with our Spurs. Ginobili, Parker, late first round picks. Actually, Ginobili, 57th overall pick. All right, very sleeper. No one trusts Argentinians, right? That's how it works. But Tim Duncan, godfather of basketball, gave up all his money. Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson. Are you kidding me? A little baby still. They didn't even do anything. I'm done with this. I'm canceling this podcast.
I actually do have to backtrack. I kind of forgot about how important that Spurs big three was. Tony Parker, great point guard, loved averaging 16 points a game and 4 assists and running around like a little fucking termite, like a little bit. No, really, yeah, that Spurs, the Spurs is probably the right answer.
Fair enough. Next big thing, Brad. So there are some questions on, on whether or not the next year's teams, who's going to make it into the playoffs, who's going to be better. And the biggest question was surrounding the Nets, because obviously KD wasn't playing a whole bunch this year. Having a horrible injury like he had will do that to you. But what would you guys say? And I'll start with Kevin. For Bradley Beal going to the Brooklyn Nets, is that a good call or bad call?
I think it depends, because if Bradley Beal goes to the Nets, where are they getting all this money to pay KD, Kyrie, Bradley Beal, and all of their other players that have turned out to be like? Are they going to have just a big three and then no one else on their team, or are they going to have they got to pick and choose somewhere? Hypothetically, I think if he went there, I think that's a good move with the KD and Kyrie stuff, because let's be honest, I don't think Bradley Beal is a leader necessarily. I think John Wall is the leader on that team, and Bradley Beal kind of follows suit. So Bradley Beal, I think, is really good, but I don't think his character is going to throw a wrench too much in that Nets lineup that's already screwed up.
Yeah,
So
he's not going to be. Yeah, he's not going to be a bad transaction. He would only help the team out, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
John, do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say that like a guy who's averaging like 30 points a game is going to make your team worse, but it's just in the event that like he was there, they probably wouldn't have someone like Spencer Dinwiddie or Karis LeVert, or they'd have to like lose people who are like key pieces. And I guess it just means like, how much do you value the continuity there? Not that they were very good this year. But I don't know. It's tough. There's still like, that's still 3 very ball dominant players with Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving's a very moody guy when things start going not quite his way. So I can see it being a little bit of a problem. And I don't know, frankly, why Bradley Beal would want to go to Kevin Durant when he's got John Wall and his non-existent Achilles tendons to return to this next year. I don't know why he would want to miss out on John Wall running at 3 miles an hour top speed now.
Oh yeah, I think that would be just horrendous to miss out on such an opportunity.
Yeah.
Sam, would it be better for the Wizards to actually trade Bradley Beal to the Nets? Do you think that they would get enough in return from him? Because that team is pretty much, absolute trash. So would it be better for the Wizards to just trade away Bradley Beal?
Yeah, if this trade were to occur, the only team winning would be the Washington Wizards, right? If we exclude the whole John Wall factor of just being an arrogant fool at some point, Spencer Dinwiddie is a very class act guy. I think very misunderstood, very underpaid. I get it, he's not a big household name, but I think we saw how well he's performed. Karis LeVert, yes, he's been injured, but I think his rate of recovery has been phenomenal. He had that 50-point game, which was unreal.
He's got a high ceiling. He's got a really high ceiling. We've seen him ball out. Like, he can do it.
Exactly. And I think also add like someone like Jared Allen. I'm surprised Kyrie wants to dump all these guys, really. I mean, it's actually a pretty solid team. Just wait for KD to actually show up and then make your story at that point. But I mean, if the trade were to occur, the only team winning would be the Wizards.
Interesting. All right. So we have incredible news, basketball fans. There's been a recent meeting with Jesus Christ, why can I not speak today? Adam Silver, and he was talking about possibly starting up the league again, but in Orlando, with a deal with Disney, I believe. So they would be playing in that area. Now, this is going to be very interesting because I assume all the teams would be playing there and whatnot, just to, make sure that everybody's healthy and try and keep everybody as safe as possible. That way, there's not a lot of traveling. But, John, do you think that this would be the right move? And I believe they're doing this end of July. Now, obviously, as basketball fans, yes, we really want this, but what is your opinion on playing in Orlando?
Uh, it's tough. I feel like I tend to lean towards a little bit of maybe like over caution with all of this. So I worry for the players and everything, but I assume that you know the plan is put in place where like they're going to be able to just uh, be very isolated, be only in touch with each other while they're playing out these games at Disney, and like um, so I overall, like I'm very excited to see the games come back. I hope that everyone is mic'd up,
Oh yeah.
because to make up for the lack of crowd sound, and
That'd be
I think it's a potentially a very good call because we'll get to see the end of the season. I just hope that they will. I trust the league to do so, especially like under Adam Silver, but just take the precautions that they need to make sure everyone's safe.
Absolutely. And then going off of that, for the end of the season, Sam, do you think do you think it would be the best move for them to finish off the season or just go right to the playoffs?
I think the goal should be just going into the playoffs. I think for the most part, we're set in stone. Yes, seeds 9 and 10 are relatively close, but I think for the most part, if you were to simulate it, I think the Memphis Grizzlies would still get the 8 seed, just barely. I think they'd still get it. If anything, you might want to just bring a few teams, not every team, so that we kind of simulate preseason. I don't think you want these teams to play against each other directly in the playoffs just because there's no momentum yet.
Hmm.
So, in my opinion, I think just go directly into the playoffs and still have the normal amount of games. Maybe shorten the first round to 5 instead. I think just to
Yeah,
keep a better
definitely.
level going at that point.
That would make the most sense to me. I think if you're going to make the playoffs go up again, you I don't think you can have best of seven because now you're starting to go into possibly the next season and when that would even start, which I don't know about you guys, but I would actually be very interested to see basketball start in December instead of in October because that actually might increase the views because now like in December you have football kind of going down a little bit, and then basketball starting up. By the time football's over, basketball will be in high gear. That might be a that might be a really good option. And Kevin, I'm going to swing this over to you. Sam did mention the Memphis Grizzlies. How many wins should we just give New Orleans Pelicans so we can have Lakers and the Pelicans in the playoffs?
I mean,
It's only 5 wins. We can skip 5 wins. It's
yeah,
fine.
you can't just be like, hey, these guys, I want to see these guys play. I'm going to give them wins.
Okay, but you got to admit, would you rather, Kevin, would you rather see the Grizzlies against the Lakers or the Pelicans and the Lakers in the playoffs?
I mean, selfishly, Pelicans, Lakers, if everyone's healthy. But if at the end of the day, the Grizzlies deserve it. The Grizzlies have been grinding all year for the 8th seed so hard. I would feel so bad taking that away from them. Like, even if someone got in just by luck at the last second that wasn't the Grizzlies, I would feel terrible because they 100% deserve it. Ja deserves Rookie of the Year. Like, all of that entire team has been grinding, and I don't think anyone expected that at the beginning of the season. But
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think having the Grizzlies up there was a really, like you said, they were grinding all season, and they definitely deserved the 8th seed. It's just the selfish person in me really wants to see Zion against LeBron.
yeah,
uh, so I got a question for you guys, and I will start out with John. With the potential playoffs coming up, which team had the most disappointing season in your opinion?
Yeah, I think For me, that answer is our 6th seed in the East, Philadelphia 76ers, who would be our 8th seed in the West with 39 wins.
Yikes.
6th seed already, pretty embarrassing for that team. Falling behind an Indiana Pacers team that did not have Victor Oladipo for a whole season. And so, yeah, I would say the Sixers, they've been pretty embarrassing. Their offense is terrible. They average 109 points a game. And they're, which is just 2 points above what their stout defense is giving up. So everything that they're good at, it makes sense, which is just like they're a good defensive team because they have a lot of length and a lot of athleticism, but they're just like offensively, they just like have no identity. They're just like lost out there. Al Horford has been terrible. Ben Simmons has had like a few like really cool moments in this season, still like refuses to take a jump shot, and like Joel Embiid is just like still not like in shape. Like it's just, he's another one that I'm like worried about coming out of all this. If Joel Embiid was not in shape heading into last year's playoffs, like I can only imagine what he's going to look like after a 2-month break heading into the playoffs.
Yikes.
So I would say the Sixers. I thought that they were going to be certainly at least a 4 seed this year, and they just really fell apart. I knew that the shooting would be a problem, but I figured that with like all that talent, they could figure something out. But
right, yeah, I definitely agree. And I'm gonna actually throw you another question that kind of goes off of that. Obviously, the Sixers. Not only did Sixers fans expect a ton from them, but I think the entire like basketball community expected a lot from them as well. Because looking at that team, just looking at it on paper, the 3-point shots were definitely the biggest concern. But other than that, I would have never expected them to uh, be a 6th seed in the East. So, with that being said, there are two things that I can see happening. I could either see, well, 3 things. I could either see Brett Brown being fired. I could either see Joel Embiid or Ben Simmons getting traded, or I could see both. What do you think would happen next season?
next season, I think most likely next season, it would be Brett Brown getting fired. I don't know that they're like ready to blow up like that core that they have with Embiid and Ben Simmons. They're both really talented players who are like really, young and have a lot of room to grow. But the fit has always been questionable. So maybe I don't think that these two are going to be playing their entire careers together. I have a feeling that they won't even be playing like their next contracts together.
Yeah.
But I don't anticipate them getting traded before next season.
Sam and Kevin, you guys can jump in on this as well. Let's just say hypothetically Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid were to be traded. Who do you think is the best option for the 76ers to grab? And where do you think Joel Embiid or Ben Simmons would work really well at? Because the first thing that popped into my head, I'm not gonna lie, was maybe Bradley Beal getting traded to the Sixers, because that would solve their shooting problem instantly.
That's true.
I think that's a really good option, actually, especially if Bradley Beal is looking for other places to go. I mean, like John said, he averages like 30 points a game. Like he will put up numbers for you no matter where he is. He doesn't have a team right now, and he's putting up 30 points a game. Like, who needs John Wall?
Yeah, they sure do. Sam, what would you say?
I guess I would say, first off, I think the player to keep is Ben Simmons. Yes, he's younger. Yes, he might have a movable contract in a way. Yes, I mean, he kind of did have the rookie max. But I just think when it comes to health and longevity, I just don't trust Embiid. I know what John said. You just can't trust that Embiid health. The guy just never looks healthy at all. I'm pretty sure at most he's played 60 games. He was probably on pace to play a little bit more this season, but obviously with the season being shut down, we'll never see that because, let's be real, he's probably not working out right now. I haven't seen any of those workout videos on YouTube. And if anything, Joel Embiid, a place that Joel Embiid would probably succeed in would probably be the Miami Heat, right? That's probably the kind of their missing factor is that I think he has that swagger. He has that Jimmy Butler kind of grind, which I think they kind of linked. I think he wanted Jimmy Butler back to begin with. I think Tobias Harris was not a great fit for Philly. He's one of those guys who could probably run it solo and actually make slight impact, but he's not a guy you can team up with superstar. He doesn't have that kind of impact as we can see put it up this season. But in return, I mean, if you think about it, Philly doesn't need superstars; they just need shooters. I think going back to Kevin's point, you need the guy to shoot. I'd be okay with trading even Joel Embiid to the Rockets. Take all the Rocket shooters at this point. You know, everyone loves that PJ Tucker. Man, the guy loves his pancakes too. Loves to shoot games. But maybe get Rocco back. You know, that'd be a pretty solid fit. So.
Yeah, that's true. Very true. Kevin, who do you think is the most disappointing team this season?
So I could have gone with some playoffs teams. I could have roasted the Clippers for being underwhelming for what everyone thought they were going to be. I'm actually going with someone who wasn't even in playoff contention, which is super disappointing. The Atlanta Hawks are absolute garbage, and this is so upsetting. Trae Young is putting up 30 points a game, doing everything for the entire team. 30 points a game, 9 assists, over 4 rebounds. Like, he's putting up crazy stats every game, and the Hawks still blow huge ones. They're, second to last in the East?
It's not great.
In the East. How? When you have a player putting up 30 points a game? Are you serious? One of the best players, you have good or semi-good rookies, or you should have them, in like Cam Reddish. Even Jeff Teague is an okay basketball player, and he can't help the team at all. Like, Clint Capella comes, still they're doing garbage. Nothing's happening. Like, what is this team, and why have they devolved into this trash bottom tier basketball team when they have seemingly good pieces? It's just sad. I would have said at the beginning of the season they would have at least been contending for an 8th seed, like in competition. But I mean, they're 10 games behind the Magic right now. That's insane.
That's pretty sad.
Yeah.
What would you think, Sam? What do you think the Hawks would need to do to kind of make that team a little bit more better, obviously, and put them in that playoff contention spot? Because if I'm looking at it on paper, Trae Young, John Collins, they're both really great players. And, you know, Clint Capella's a pretty solid player too, but for whatever reason, it's not working. So what do you think would solve that problem?
I think first off, point A, going to Kevin's point, it should be getting rid of Jeff Teague. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, Jeff Teague's irrelevant. I don't know, Kevin, I don't know why you brought Jeff Teague. We all knew that. Okay, we knew that. But for them, I think they need someone that's more of a shot creator or play creator. They have the Trae Young who can kind of do his thing. He can facilitate, but what do they facilitate to? I mean, does anyone know their roster? Is Evan Turner still there? If he's there, he needs to get out, because I would hope not. John Collins, phenomenal player, did some drugs. Kind of missed there too, so we didn't get to see that. Clint Capella, when he got there, was already injured, so we didn't really get to see the true efforts of Clint Capella. For me, it's all about playmaking. Trae Young's phenomenal, but he doesn't really have playmaking ability, and I think that's just because he doesn't have the right talent around him. And I know a lot of people are saying, oh, they should get the right talent for Trae Young. It's his second year in the league. All right? It takes time. The Mavs are already rebuilding when Luka was, before Luka was there. Dirk was already going away. They're not a playoff team already. We knew that. But they already had like the Dwight Powell, Maxi Kleber. They're not notable guys, but they do a lot of great effort. And the perfect European talent to support Luka. So I think we should have patient, trust the process.
Trust the process. All right. Sam, with that being said, who do you think is the most disappointing team in your opinion?
The worst music right now is in Utah, all right? The Utah Jazz. One of the most disappointing teams. I listened to episodes 2 or 3 discussing who would be the most hyped. And I believe it was our dearest Matthew Murphy supporting that the Utah Jazz would be finals contenders, if I recall.
Yeah, that was a bad call, not going to lie. That was pretty bad.
The team is not that disappointing. They're a 5th seed. But I think we can agree that the disappointing player was Mike Conley, right? Mike Conley, for the money he's paid, which is about the rest of these 2 years, is roughly around $70 million. That's a little outrageous. for someone his age and just his health wise. It's going to be very difficult to kind of dump that contract. He has a Chris Paul contract without the Chris Paul numbers. And even worse for them, Bojan Bogdanovic got injured. He's been playing through a wrist injury, so he just got surgery. He's out for this season. So there's no reason for this team to really have any more success. And obviously the big reason now is Rudy Gooby and the coronavirus. All right. That man should not be allowed to touch any microphone. All right. The man should not touch the spider. Okay. Luckily, but hopefully that relationship is back together. But I mean, I think we all had high hopes for what their potential could have been.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with that. I think the biggest piece is the Mike Conley piece because he did so well on the Grizzlies, you know. John, do you have any possible like explanation as to why maybe Mike Conley isn't doing that well on the Jazz?
I mean, Mike Conley is just old, and he was coming off some sort of ankle injury, and he's playing in a new system in a new city with new teammates for the first time in his career, and he's just old. Like he had like a few moments where he was able to look like Mike Conley this year, but he's just a fish out of water. I think unfortunately they gave him a lot of money, but it's not like you're gonna adjust your roster to like help Mike Conley. Like Mike Conley's supposed to be that piece that you're fitting around your other guys. I kind of think that part of the bigger issue of everything is that like Donovan Mitchell has like not gotten that much better. Like he's
that's true.
I don't want to. He's still like quite good. Donovan Mitchell, good player. I would rather have him than someone like Zach LaVine. But like he's still like he's not. He's still like not the most efficient scorer. He's not the best passer. He's a solid enough defender, but he's just like he feels like he's kind of not that different from the guy he was last year. And that guy's good. He's just like not good enough to like make that team take a leap forward.
Yeah, I agree. Speaking of Zach LaVine, my most disappointing team is obviously the Bulls. The Chicago Bulls. Look, I think going into this season, I was expecting, playoff contention at least, but I wasn't expecting like anything insane like a 5th seed or 4th seed or anything like that, but they well played under how they should have. I think the biggest disappointment of that Bulls team was Lauri Markkanen, which is really shitty because he had a ton of potential. And I don't know what exactly happened. I don't know if it was just like that he was injured for so long that like trying to get back into the flow is just hard for him. I don't know if it's because the Bulls organization had a really bad time training him in the first place. There was really no progression from Markkanen, which is horrible to watch because I love that guy. Your best player is Zach LaVine on that team, and he's making 25.5 points a game. Like, we talk about Bradley Beal, like, shooting 30, and the Wizards are trash. Like, for your best player to be scoring that low on average. Now, he had some really great games. He had some 40-point games, 30-point games, and whatnot. I think his highest points in this season was, like, 47 or 49 or something like that, which was really awesome, but, like, to have that many points is kind of like a slap in the face because you're not winning games with it. You're not helping the team at all. I mean, I don't know about you, John, but when I think I was texting you when this was happening, but I was watching one of the Bulls games a little while ago when Zach LaVine wasn't playing. And that team, like, granted, they still looked like the Bulls, but they actually looked like there was a flow with it. They were passing consistently. They weren't taking ridiculous shots. Everybody was doing something. Valentine was shooting threes and making them. Like, Thaddeus Young was doing really well. Like, the whole team kind of seemed to mesh pretty well with each other. Scrappy team, to say the least, but with Zach LaVine not playing, they kind of looked actually more like a team.
Yeah, I I'd have to agree. I mean, I hate Zach LaVine. I think Zach LaVine is like, I've said it before, but I just think he's like if Monta Ellis could fly. Like he's not an efficient scorer, so he's just putting up all these empty points on a team that doesn't win games, and he's making a ton of money for it. And and I am sick of him, and I wish, maybe I'd like him more if he wasn't being like labeled as, like the bull, like he's our guy right now. That's kind of hard to hang your hat on because he's just like a fine player. Like 25.5 points is not like bad. That's like a high scoring average. It's just that like nothing, it just isn't contributing to anything because the team is so it's like incoherent. No one plays well together. There's no chemistry, and they all hate their coach. And
yeah, exactly. I think the part that obviously would have made that team better next year would be their head coach getting fired. That's definitely step number one, which actually is probably going to happen. Step number two was getting management replaced, which is also happening, which is fantastic. Now, step number three, I am really hoping for some trades. Get Zach LaVine out of there. Try and get something for him because for whatever reason, people think that he's fucking great, which he's not. I think the one good thing about the Bulls that I liked seeing was Kobe White. I think he wasn't like by any means like the best rookie to come out of that class and whatnot. Obviously not, but like I still enjoyed watching him play. I think he was continuously getting better throughout the season. His shot looks really good. He definitely has to pass a bit more. He still needs to work on those point guard skills, not just being a shooting guard and whatnot. But as far as the entire team as a whole, they were a complete ass this year. Yeah, I don't want anything to do with them. I'm really pissed.
Yeah, honestly, the season getting cut off like it did ended up being good for my shit talking because I've been talking shit about Kobe White for months, and then he started stringing together 35-point games and looking genuinely like pretty promising. So, so I have some time to backpedal, bury those messages,
delete
no
all
one can
tweets.
find them. No one can find them. Yeah. Kobe, cautious optimism.
Yes, that is fair. I think if we're going to describe anything on the Bulls, it would be cautious optimism. So the next thing that I want to get into really quick, actually, the next segment that we're going to be getting into is the courtroom. So let's get ready on that.